and welcome to Let's Talk Home Edition. My name is Maddie and I'm here with Dr Hazel, who's going to be talking about mental health of children and young people. So Hazel, would you like to introduce yourself?
So hi, I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm on a really big mission for us to think a bit more about how we can take care of our mental health, or what the things that we need to do to look after ourselves and improve our well-being. And I've been working with lots of different organisations, including the BBC, over the last year to think a bit more about how we can get everyone talking a bit more about mental health.
Why is it a particularly good time for us to be thinking about children's mental health at the moment?
Well, I think what we know is that the last year has presented us with lots of challenges. Obviously, we've been living through a pandemic, and that's changed a lot about how children and young people have been learning, how they've been able to interact with other people, the activities that they've been allowed to do. And it's really important that we start to think about what impact that may have had on well-being, and also to start to think about what we might learn from the last year that actually might have been good. So some young people have found the last year really challenging and have found it very difficult to perhaps be learning in a different way, but others have reported that actually it's been a really positive experience for them, and they've enjoyed perhaps learning a bit more remotely, having a bit more ownership over when they do their work. So I think it's important for us to take some time to reflect now on what worked well and maybe what some of the challenges are, so that we can start to think a bit about how we can move forward in a really positive way. What we do know about children and young people is that the prevalence of mental health problems, and that means the number of people experiencing mental health problems, has gone up. And sometimes scientists are trying to decide, is it just that we're better at spotting what some of these mental health problems might be, or is it actually that we're just getting more mental health problems? And what we think at the moment is it's actually the latter, so that people are developing more mental health problems than they used to in the past. So as a clinical psychologist, it's really important for me to understand why might that be, and most importantly, what is it that we can do to try and reduce that.
What do you mean when you talk about well-being?
So when we talk about well-being, what we're really talking about in its simplest form is our ability to feel good and to function effectively. So that means, being able to live the sort of life that we want to live, of course we'll experience a whole range of emotions during our day, but to have a healthy balance of emotions so that we're able to sort of navigate through our day without perhaps feeling too worn down, too burnt out, too pulled down by some of the more difficult emotions that we might be experiencing. But we can also think about well-being kind of on a bit slightly bigger picture, to understand that well-being is about our ability to sort of take care of ourselves now and invest in ourselves now, so that we're looking after ourselves in the future too. So I sometimes think of well-being as a bit like a kind of a resource that we can put into now, kind of like putting money into the bank, so that when we need it at a later date, we can kind of draw from that resource.
Do you have any tips for things that we should be doing to improve our mental health and well-being, as well as that of our children and young people?
So I think when we start to think about what we can do to take care of our well-being and help young people take care of theirs, there are a few things that we can really start to focus in on, and some of them will be really common and very well known already, like the importance of getting out and getting some exercise. Eating well, we know, is really important for us, and also getting enough sleep. So those are the things that we commonly talk about in relation to well-being, but there's a few other things too that we know make a difference. For example, we know it's really good for us to play and actually have times in our day where we play, where we're not just working all the time. When we're playing, we're sort of signalling to our brain that actually we're not in a sort of stressful situation, that we can relax a little bit, that we can enjoy ourselves. We don't tend to play when we're sort of feeling threatened. So we sort of send a message to our brain to say, I'm okay, I'm safe now. So making time to play and do things that you enjoy. I think it's also really important that we find things that we can really get fully engaged in. So having activities where you completely lose yourself in what you're doing can also be really helpful for our well-being. And lastly, I think to remember the importance of our relationships with other people. So we know, for example, that our relationships will be just as predictive in terms of sort of our long-term mental health and well-being as some of the other more sort of common things like how we eat and the exercise that we get. Our relationships are up there as being just as important. So So making sure that you make time to connect with the people who are important to you. I know that's hard right now because we perhaps can't meet up in the ways that we might want to, but that doesn't mean that we can't send a funny meme or some way of just letting someone else know that you're thinking about them.
Where can people learn more?
So we are going to be doing what we call a Huddle Parent Talk on January the 18th, and there'll be a link somewhere related to this video that you can click on to find out a bit more, where I'll be expanding on some of the things that we've been talking about today to help parents understand a bit more about what some of the challenges might be for children and young people's mental health at the moment, but perhaps most importantly, what some of the things are that we can do to try and help young people to take care of their well-being and sort of move forward in a positive and proactive way.
Lastly, we're asking everyone this, but what is one hobby or habit that you've picked up during lockdown?
During lockdown, I learnt with my kids how to make origami ninja stars. Never really done any origami before. My son was very keen to learn ninja stars, I think mainly so he could fire them at me. But we had a lot of fun learning how to do that. So that was really good. And I think what I discovered in doing that is the real excitement of learning how to do something new, but also of having to really concentrate hard on something, you know, to see if we could learn how to do it without eventually watching the video. We enjoyed discovering that.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Hazel, for taking the time to talk to me. I think it's a very important conversation to be having at the moment, just because people's mental health being affected by lockdown and everything. So thank you for taking the time to speak to me. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.